If you don't see I speak English in the window,
no, you don't go in that store.
if you don't see I speak English in the window,
Yes, you walk right by that door. Oh, it's all about the little baby Jesus.
that's right. If you don't see I speak English in the window, don't come in this store. Lady in Alexandria, J. Audrey Johnson McDonald, went into Jean Coutu store and had this situation and wrote a letter to the editor of the local newspaper. Letter reads, "No English Christmas cards. Dear editor, firstly let me say that I am bilingual and I was born and raised in Glengarry. I find this situation unnecessary, unacceptable and troubling. I recently had a disturbing experience in a Jean Coutu store in Alexandria. Upon entering at 5:45 p.m., I walked over to this young girl at the cash register. Right next to it was a small Christmas card display, and it was only in French. Well, this reminded me that I needed to buy several boxes of Christmas cards, so I asked where I could find the English variety. The young clerk simply pointed to and replied, "Over there." I immediately went over there, only to find that there were no English Christmas cards, but a good supply of French ones. I went back to the clerk and asked her to help locate them. She didn't even look at their supply, but advised me that Jean Coutu is a French store and we don't carry English Christmas cards. I asked her to repeat this, as I could not believe what I was hearing. She repeated it and insisted that that was their policy. I then asked to speak to the manager. Within minutes, a young lady appeared. She said the manager was not there, but she was the supervisor. I explained that I wanted boxes of English Christmas cards. She stated, "Jean Coutu is a French company, and it is from Quebec, and we do not carry English Christmas cards here." When asked if they carried English Christmas cards last year, she replied, "No, but many customers asked for them, and we told them the same thing. Jean Coutu is a French company from Quebec, and we do not sell English cards in these stores." I simply looked at her and asked, "Don't you realize that this Jean Coutu store is in the province of Ontario?" She simply ignored my question and insisted once again that this was the store policy. I then asked if the owner was in, and she told me that the owner was never involved in store floor matters. Strangely, I called Jean Coutu stores in Hawkesbury and Cornwall and inquired if they in fact carried English Christmas cards, and both stores stated that they had relatively good assortment in English. So tell me this, is the decision of the owner of Jean Coutu in Alexandria? I always thought that, number one, merchants were there to serve the public, and number two, given the local demographics, English cards should be available. Finally, situations like this are what cause divisions in communities. We do not need this in Alexandria. So that was the first letter that was sent to the editor. In reply to this, a few days later or something like that, "Dear editor, there were several troubling statements in the recent letter to the editor, which appeared under the banner No English Christmas Cards in November 28 issue of Glengarry News. The banner is incorrect. Statements in the letter are incorrect. As a merchandiser from American Greetings and Carlton Cards in this area, I can assure you that there are plenty of English Christmas cards at Jean Coutu and other local stores, although we do not provide box Christmas cards in English or in French. There is a selection of multi-pack English cards available at Jean Coutu. The clerk's statement that we don't carry English Christmas cards is incorrect. The clerk really meant to say that there were no boxed English Christmas cards. She would have directed the customer to the Christmas card section, where this irate customer would have found English multi-packs and individual cards. The writer's reference to phone calls to the Jean Coutu stores in Hawkesbury and Cornwall did not specify if the responding stores were talking about boxed cards when they responded with both stores had relatively good assortments in English. This letter presents an unbalanced view, and it mixes two issues: the availability of boxed English cards versus the availability of any English cards, Christmas cards at all. The Glengarry News showed a lack of good judgment by not including the word boxed in the banner for this letter, leading the readers to deduce that there was no English Christmas cards at Jean Coutu. Our local merchants strive to provide a good service. They do not deserve to be presented in such a negative light in the local media. This was Patricia Boyle from Glen Robertson. I find it interesting that Patricia called the customer irate when there was no mention of being irate at all in the previous article. And then comes another letter from a concerned citizen by the name of K. Davies, who writes some days later, "Dear Editor, I wish to respond to Mrs. Boyle's letter to the editor, December 5th edition of the Glengarry News as follows. J. Audrey Johnson MacDonald had written in. I went back to the clerk and asked her to help me locate them. She didn't even look at their supply, but advised me that Jean Coutu is a French store and we do not carry English Christmas cards. The manager said, this Jean Coutu is a French company and is from Quebec, and we do not carry English Christmas cards here. It should be noted that both the clerk and the manager stated Jean Coutu in Alexandria does not carry English Christmas cards and that store is French. We might excuse the clerk somewhat, but not the manager. Patricia Boyle is clearly defending Jean Coutu, maybe because of her vested interests. The Glengarry News has nothing to apologize for, as there is no reason to expect that boxed, the word boxed, was a word to be included or excluded. It sure appears that Patricia Boyle is also a mind reader, as to what the clerk really meant. How would she know what the clerk really meant anyways? Likewise, does she know what the manager really meant? I do agree the local merchants strive to provide good service, as they should, to both English and French patrons. However, when one does not, then it's important to bring it to the attention of the public. Ken Davies in Cornwall. So there you have it.